Hey guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp with a Limp, and I have a quick video here for you doing a review of the Blue Falcon paints that I was sent. I told you guys I was going to take and try these out a little bit, paint some of the Blood Red Sky stuff, see how well it did, and kind of give you my thoughts on it. Because I haven't got to try these paints before, and I've actually quite liked them. So I'm going to switch over to some pictures, and I actually did some little dropper tests so I could show you guys the thickness, the quality of the paint itself actually coming out, give you some examples. All right, so here you see I took a picture of some of the planes that I painted. Don't take like my painting skills as like a indication of the paints themselves. Now, all of them, with the exception of the Zero here, were painted with the Blue Falcon paints. The Zero, I didn't have a green for it, and I wanted to go with a green color scheme. So I used a Army Painter paint on that instead. And I tried a couple of different ways with these guys to try them out, see how well it worked. With the Bearcat here, I did the Blue Falcon paint, but I put it through an airbrush. And I found that it's right there on the cusp, all right, of being able to go right through a airbrush. Just thinned it down a little bit. And part of that's me. I like to kind of stretch my paints a little bit. I like to have them just a little thin than a little too thick when I'm using it through an airbrush. So I did use it, took a few light coats going across it to get a nice finish on it. I do need to go back around the cockpit. Please don't hold the cockpits against me, because I'm horrible when it comes to cockpits. They're too thin, they're too small. My hands shake way too much for me to get those things anywhere near close to perfect. But like I said, I did do the airbrush, and it gave a nice finish here on the Bearcat. And I haven't done panel lines, decals, haven't got any of that done. I wanted to just show the paints itself, all right? Let you guys see what it looked like with just the bare paints. Now, the bomber over here, the dive bomber, the Dauntless, I did with a different paint scheme, but that was also the Blue Falcon paint. But what I did with it is I did this one by brush. So I wanted to show the difference, see if there was, paint strokes or stuff like that. And it came out working fine. Did a real good job. You see, it got a nice even coat across it. And just like with the Bearcat, took a couple of goes over it. You didn't get it all finished in one go. You want to do light coats. Obviously, if you painted, you know what I'm talking about. A couple of light coats versus one thick, heavy coat. And you can see no real paint marks left behind or anything like that, brush strokes or anything. Got a good finish on it. So I do like how the paints worked both brush and through the airbrush. They both work good. They both got a good finish. The airbrush, it is a little lighter in some areas, and I think that's just on me, where I didn't hit it quite as hard. I just need to come back with a brush like here on the Bearcat, just right around the tips of the wing, and especially around the cockpit, because I didn't want to risk spraying on top of the windows themselves and just touch it up a little bit to darken those areas. But I am going to come back later and finish up things like panel lines and decals and all that. And just to show you guys, here is the bottom of the Dauntless Dive Bomber. I did paint the little bombs on here, and the bottom was also done by hand with the Blue Falcon paints. And again, a good finish. And these actually worked well enough that they would cover some of the darker paints. So like the Bearcat here, I did a dark, because the paint scheme showed, dark both ways, like full dark or dark and then a light bottom. I decided to do dark with a light bottom on it, did the gray bottom, and it was good enough to cover the bottom of it. If I had made any little airbrush errors on it, it was still a couple of light coats able to cover it up. So worked well, whichever way you want to go with it. But you do want to thin it down just a hair. A hair. Doesn't matter if you're doing it by brush or by airbrush. It'll work out of the bottle in your airbrush, but I think you're better off just few drops of thinner. You can use water, thinner, whatever material you're going to use to thin out your paints. Any of it's fine, but just few drops. Thin it down just that little bit. It's right there on the cusp of it. I've got a video here showing you guys what I'm talking about. All right, so here in this video, you guys will see what I'm talking about. I'm showing the uh, paint. This is actually the one that I used to paint the top of the Dauntless Dive Bomber. And I did this with 3 different paints. I show you what it looks like when it's coming out. So this is the Blue Falcon paint, and you can see the consistency of it right here. It's right there exactly with Vallejo Model Air. All right, so this is the next one I'm showing you guys, is roughly the same color. I didn't have the exact same color, so I picked something, close. And you can see they're almost virtually identical in consistency. So if you've used the Model Air before, then you'll know exactly how much you've got to thin these things. Sorry about the little bit of shaky camera. Like I said, I'm using a new camera and it's heavier, so all my tripods are like groaning under the weight of this thing. This is a regular Vallejo acrylic, and I did this just to show you the difference between like the Model Air, the airbrush thinned paints versus like a regular paint. So you can see how thick that is versus the other two. All right. So if you've used Vallejo Model Air before, you're going to know exactly how thick the Blue Falcon paints are right off the bat. It's that thick. So here's a little good screen capture for you guys. Shows you the thickness. And again, the red grass wet palette, which I love. I know this isn't about red grass, but I love it. This is still the same hydration sheet I started with when I first got this thing like a couple of months back. And you can see it's just got a few little stains, a few little scratches in it. Those things are phenomenal. They did a great job developing these little hydration sheets. Definitely well worth checking out. Check out Redgrass. I know Blue Falcon. Don't hold it against me. I'm calling out someone else, but I like to call out quality products when I say quality products. But as far as all the paints themselves are concerned, I do like Blue Falcon. They're cost effective. They work. They work airbrush or they work brush. Doesn't matter. The thing is, they are going to be the consistency of Vallejo Model Air. So they are that little bit of thin type paints. For me personally, in a way, it feels like you're getting a little bit less because I can thin out the others, the thicker, just regular acrylic paints, to stretch it that little bit more. But really, it's not that much more. So if you don't want to have to worry about, stretching and thinning and doing all that with your paints, you're pretty well good to go on it. But as well as these paints are priced as is, you really can't beat what you're getting. And again, I love the fact that they've got the paints matched to who they're supposed to be going to. So US Navy, Imperial Japanese Navy, that type stuff. That way you don't have to worry about, do I have the right color? Yes, you've got the right color. They've already got that figured out. I hate that when I'm trying to figure out which color I need to use to kind of match things that I'm seeing on the damn box. This, they've got it on the bottle. I really do appreciate that. And again, I like that it comes with a little shaker in it, so I don't have to worry about adding my own. That's a nice little bonus too. So yeah, ultimately, Blue Falcon paints, I did enjoy them. They work well. They're very well comparable to Vallejo models. So if you like Vallejo Model Air, you're going to like Blue Falcon, right? Same type paint. It's just military type colors. So if that's what you're looking for, definitely check out Blue Falcon. All right, you guys take care. I'll catch you in the next one.